Folks, this man pulls double duty, not only with the COMPAS, but he does it obviously covering the 49ers. He's here, he's there, he's everywhere. Cam Inman, San Jose Mercury News, 49ers NFL reporter. Cam, thank you so much. You've already done 2 shows with Gilbert. Now we bring you on because it's Sunday night football, 49ers, Chargers. Cam, thank you so much. How you been?
Yeah, welcome back to the Northern California Bureau of NFL football.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
the Niners are going for the back-to-back LA wins, right? I mean, they beat the Rams to sweep the series, and then they get the bye week, and now they're gonna try to beat the Chargers. But
yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, let's go to that Rams game. I mean, it was just I told Gilbert this is how I felt like they did. So you have no Deebo Samuel. So what do? You turn to Christian McCaffrey and you say, hey, we're gonna need you to be our Deebo Samuel. And it was a one-man wrecking crew, and he really, with his arm, with his legs, and with his hands, was able to take it to the Rams. Is that kind of what you saw as well?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating. Like, can McCaffrey do better in a game? I mean, he produced 3 touchdowns via the run, via the pass, and via the catch, and it's just like, okay, so that's pretty good. But he shouldn't have to be the one-man band. I mean, that's kind of like, so now going into this game, they have their whole offensive arsenal, and that includes bringing back Elijah Mitchell, their season opening starter at running back. I mean, he was their leading rusher as a rookie last season, and it was almost I don't want to say by default because that discredits what he did, but like we all saw that he was probably the best running back in camp as a rookie. So now you put him in the mix with Deebo and McCaffrey. Brandon Ayuk's playing the best he's ever played in year 3, and then George Kittle's really come on in the last month because he missed the first couple of games with a groin injury. So all of a sudden, everybody goes, all right, well, here you go, Kyle Shanahan. If you're such an offensive genius, let's see what you can do. And so when he played the Rams, he goes, do you like that? Okay, that's just one guy. Now I got like 5 guys. And Kyle's thing is, I don't have to reinvent the offense. You don't reinvent plays. It's all he's like, that's true, but now you got to use other chapters in your playbook where you didn't think you'd ever get to. And so, I mean, I wrote a story this week. My first story of the week when I came off the bye was, how do the Chargers, counter that? Because you think all high and mighty from the Niner angle, but it's like, well, what is it? Last summer we were down there, right, for training camp.
Yes, sir.
And there was a guy named Derwin James that was all over that defense making plays. And he was going toe-to-toe with Kittle on one-on-one routes, but then he made an interception on a goal line throw, and he's just everywhere. And I'm like, the beauty of that is, and this is how Brandon Staley will describe it, is he has a chess piece to try to outmatch, the Niners. It's all chess pieces, right? And now you have Derwin James that can go, he can rush the passer. He can line up other places. And some of the Niners were comparing him to Jalen Ramsey's versatility, but I think Derwin James is a much better player right now than Jalen Ramsey. I think Jalen Ramsey's the last couple of years has kind of dropped off a little bit. The Niners have exposed him on some stuff, but I think Derwin James got paid to be the best safety in the game for good reason. The guy can do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, no, and definitely. And this is the thing, Cam. I feel like the Chargers don't know what to expect. And I'm not saying that they don't know. Obviously, the coaching staff, but like you said, Elijah Mitchell's coming back. You really didn't see a lot of Deebo, and Christian had just gotten traded for. He had barely come in when they played Kansas City, but it just feels like they could throw so many things at him that the Chargers may not expect not expect. I don't want to, obviously I don't want to say that the Chargers don't know, but there's a lot of mystery, I think, going into this weekend,
right?
With that, with what Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers offense can be.
And up here, I think the excitement is, yes, it's a good mystery. Like, how is he going to deploy what I've trademarked, the McDeebo package?
Oh, wow.
McCaffrey and Deebo. That assumes Deebo is like fully healthy from his hamstring issue, which he looked like he was yesterday. And then how they incorporate the other players. But I mean, this offense is predicated on mismatches. And so wherever they, put Khalil Mack to rush the passer or Derwin James out there, the Niners have to look other places and say, oh, well, then we'll just go that way. and we'll use that guy. It doesn't matter like who's lined up in that spot. That's the mismatch. And people forget that Jimmy Garoppolo is the quarterback, right? This was the number one storyline for 9 months, whatever, that Jimmy Garoppolo is still on this team.
A full pregnancy, 9 months.
Yes, that's not, he's gone full term. And now they're giving birth to this is it what do you call 8 babies, right? There's like babies everywhere. And now Jimmy Garoppolo's he's got to be the I can't go further with this, but he has to feed them all, right? I'm not going to say he's nursing everybody, but he's the one that has to make sure everybody's happy. And he can do it because I mean, Jimmy's best attribute is, besides like his ability to kind of be one of the guys and not be I'm above value of you, which I think is his best attribute. He has a good quick release, so he's going to be able to get the ball out fast. And when they were transitioning to Trey Lance at the start of this year, this guy that they've drafted number 3 overall, dual threat quarterback, and they ran him, and he broke his leg in the 5th quarter of the season. It wiped out so much of what they wanted to do on offense using a lot of just option looks in the backfield. And Jimmy's more of your pocket passer. And it actually, I mean, the way that by bringing in McCaffrey now, you don't have like McCaffrey is the option guy, right? McCaffrey's going to be either running or receiving. He's such a great receiver. So it's a fascinating mystery, like you said. And it's something that every NFL team needs to have, that element of surprise of we don't know what to do, but we better be, I mean, when the bleep goes down, you better be ready. I believe is one of my credos in life. And Cypress Hill, respect. And so, I mean, the Chargers have to be ready for everything.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, one of those big chess pieces that obviously Brandon Staley and the Chargers are going to be missing, and obviously I think from a 49er side, they're relieved, is Joey Bosa. There's going to be no Joey Bosa. This should have been the Bosa Bowl, the Bosa Brother Bowl. I saw your article on obviously on Nick and everything, and kind of what were his thoughts on his brother not being able to play this game?
Yeah, you know, it's funny because it's supposed to be a sibling rivalry, but I can't imagine 2 tighter siblings. I mean, these guys lived together. They lived together when Nick was recovering from his core muscle surgery before the draft in 2019.
You know what's funny? In 2019, Nick actually, so we were talking to Joey on Zoom. Nick popped his head in and he's like, "What's up, guys?" So it was like it's like the movie Step Brothers, but they're actually real brothers.
But you had a little too much of an inflection of a happy Nick. Nick is very subdued. He is like Spicoli. I'm just out there, you know, shredding quarterbacks and tasting waves, and you know, Stu. It's great. He is awesome. I really enjoy. I mean,
both of them.
Person aside, I've covered this team for 22 years. So you know when there's a special player on that football field that is so professional and regimented in his routine and takes everything so seriously, but he's also supporting teammates, like, you know, encouraging guys, giving them tips where it's not all about me, when it really should be, because he's the best player on their team. And they're missing a lot of guys on the defensive line next to him because Eric Armstead and Javon Kinlaw, their defensive tackles, aren't playing. They haven't played most of the year. And then Samson Ebukam, who came over from the Rams a couple of years ago, he's had an Achilles issue like this season. He hasn't produced really well, and hasn't been terrible. But and then he hurt his quad in Monday's like 30-minute, like, let's get out and stretch after the bye week practice. So so much is on Nick on that defensive front to dominate, and every team is just going to send a running back or a tight end to chip him along with the tackle.
Joey.
Right. And they're different guys. I remember this last year when we were down there for the joint practices. It's their leverage and how they use their hands. I mean, they're not necessarily clones of each other, which is cool because they're both really dominant defensive ends. And they're still just, I mean, it would have been really cool to see the Bosa Bowl, like you said. So we talked to Nick this week. I talked to him last week during the bye week about just being the NFL Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Because, like, the NFL gets so consumed with the Cowboys and Micah Parsons and, like, you know, Matthew Judon leads the league in sacks, so he should be in the conversation, but he's really not because people don't like the Patriots. Well, people forget about the Niners. So here's the deal. In summary, Nick Bosa, needs to have a massive game in the Sunday night spotlight against, the Chargers. And then next Monday night, they're going to be in Mexico playing the Arizona Cardinals again with the NFL spotlight for themselves. Si, senor. So
there you
Nick
go.
Bosa must go grande and get on everybody's radars. But and the beauty about Nick is like, I really could care less about it. As long
I
as I
love
win a
that
Super
Bosa
Bowl, I
aspect
could
of
care
them.
less about anything else. And it's a cliche, but it really resonates because the guy's been to the Super Bowl and lost and cried tears on a losing sideline. That's all that matters in pro sports is to win the championship. He's going to get paid like crazy after this season. He might become the NFL's highest paid defensive player.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he needs that breakout game, and he hasn't necessarily had it. He's had multi-sack games. He played well in the playoffs at Green Bay, just to get Aaron Rodgers all flustered again. And he had a couple big games his rookie year against Carolina and Cleveland. But other than that, and this is how you probably want your pro to be. You want to be consistent and, get a sack or two a game, but constantly providing pressure. You don't need a multi-sack, multi-turnover game unless you really want to get higher on the national radar, which I think sets up for him this week and next week against Kyler Murray, the little squirrel.
It's so much fun to watch Nick and Joey. And I mean, like I said, I've been covering Joey since he came in as a rookie, and there he was really quiet, didn't like speaking to the media. Right around 18, I mean, I spoke to him just about like Star Wars and other stuff, and then in 18 he started really warming up to the media, and you're like, wow. And now he's one of the best talkers on the team, and he gives you so much stuff. And during the training camp, he comes up and he's like, oh my God, the fans. And I'm like, what do you mean? And we're like, what do you mean? He's like, they're screaming Joey, and he like just starts doing like imitating the fans, and he's like, I gotta talk to these guys first, who I'm happy to talk to, then I'll go talk to you guys. And so it's just funny. They're different, they have no expressions, but they're really good.
Well, and it's like they don't have to. I mean, they're not there to say a lot, but they will slip in one or two sentences in each media session where you go, it's this uber confidence, but also this really great insight that they learned from their family, obviously through their dad and their uncle having played, and that they're just made for this, and that they want to be the best at their profession. I mean, it's very admirable. So,
like Joey last year on Monday Night Football, he called out the like, he's like, the officials are just idiots, they're blind. And we're like, oh my God. And then he goes and says, yeah, if you hit Derek Carr, he rolls up into a little ball and he can't take
but they're telling the truth.
No, they are. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I had a one-on-one with Nick before the season where he said some things and I'm like, I can't put that in. That's like it would create, it wouldn't. Yeah. But I mean, they don't mean to be like,
no. They're brutally honest. And that was the funny part on last week when I watched the Rams and 49ers. He sacks Jimmy G in one of those. He looks at the camera and he's like, he's smiling, like Joker smiling and just doing his sack dance. Nick is, and I'm like, oh, you could tell he's enjoying, like, because they were already up. And I'm like, you could tell he's enjoying this, every second of this, of them blowing him out. So that's the fun part. But
so how is Justin Herbert going to do with them? Is he going to be able to dodge him? Are his ribs healthy finally? Do they have a tackle that can protect him? What's the deal?
So I think that Justin is starting to get healthy. He was running around a little bit more against the Atlanta Falcons. You can tell the bye week helped him. The only thing is Keenan Allen and Mike Williams probably aren't going to go, and it's kind of like, okay, you're going to ask the reserves again to step up. And but I mean, to me, I don't know how you see it. The 49ers defense to me swarms, and I think they're going to be all over him. They're going to be all over these receivers. I just don't know how they're going to put up points. And I know obviously I'm not an offensive coordinator or anything, but I wouldn't want to be this weekend, especially against the 49ers. But I just think that they're gonna swarm.
So the Rams had some success in the first half by throwing a lot of screens at this.
Yeah, but that's with Cooper Kupp and
right. But the Niners are so aggressive with their defensive ends; they suck them in, and then they figure out ways to run past them without them looking. So I mean, the Niners have figured that out. They had a bye week to fix that.
Yeah.
They're getting their they have a great linebacker crew with Fred Warner, San Diego, North County guy.
Yep, right? Mission Hills. Yeah. Yep.
Fred's doing well. And then they have they have a pretty good. I mean, the defense is ranked number 1 for yards allowed, but Patrick Mahomes destroyed it a few weeks ago, which means Justin Herbert, if he's dialed in and finds guys, like if I'm him, I'm going to Eckler a lot, maybe the tight end some, and then I'm taking a couple deep shots because it's the NFL and cornerbacks are meant to fail, no matter who you are.
That's been the problem since Keenan and since Mike has gone down. They don't go down the field. They don't have the receivers to do it.
Right.
So it's been because the top 3 receivers are out. Jalen Guyton was their speed guy that would go down the field.
Yeah.
Torn ACL. Mike has the ankle, and then Keenan has the hamstring. So that's been a lot of the frustration with Charger fans that they're like, "Hey, why aren't we throwing down the field?" Well, the thing is, you can't because he doesn't kind of have the receivers to do it. But I mean, there's a lot of offensive and defensive coordinators on Twitter, and they try and tell you how to coach the team. But yeah, no, it's interesting to watch.
If there is a number 2 in a 49er uniform, Charger fans will be well aware of who he is, and that's Jason Verrett.
Is he playing this?
At this point, we don't know. It is,
wow.
Man, Jason has a lot of respect in the 49er locker room around the league, which he's earned it because of how his approach to the game and how he's battled through these injuries and rehab. I mean, he's played like 1 game each of the 3 of the last 4 years. He played 13 games in 2020, but he tore his ACL week 1 last year. Obviously, he had the leg injuries in the Chargers. And like the math is like, it's unbelievable. It's like, I did it the other day. I'll print it out somewhere, but he's like missed 95 of the last 115 games with leg injuries. And it's just, he's trying to get back. They got him off, they activated him off IR before the bye. And he's practicing. So they need him. Charvarius Ward, that used to play with the Chiefs, he's been a free agent gem that they got this year. He's been the best free agent they've had in a long time. I really like him. And obviously he's familiar with the Chargers. And if Justin Herbert's familiar with him, he's not going to go after him because he's pretty sticky and aggressive in coverage. So you would probably test Verrett, or you'd test Diamador Lenore, a second-year guy out of LA. Grew up in LA, who's struggled. He's given up a lot of catches. And Jimmy Ward, he should be playing safety, but they're down a nickelback, and so he's back to playing nickel right off of. He had hand surgery a few weeks ago, but Jimmy's a guy that is veteran savvy too. So I don't know. I would just say the Niners defense. I think they need a couple of takeaways to kind of. I think the Niner defense is going to be the one that rises up this game. Because like you said, the Chargers are down with like receivers, and if you can just key on Eckler and getting to Herbert, that's your success.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. The Chargers have fallen behind in each of the last 4 games. They've fallen behind 10-0, 17-0, 13-0, and it's like they fall behind, then they come back and they start marching up. They're like Seattle took it to them, Jacksonville took it to them. And that's what I was going to ask you about the 49ers. It's kind of been a weird year. I think they're a little bit similar where like the 49ers have some losses that you're like, how did like the Atlanta one I give them because obviously they had a lot of players injured that game.
They did have a lot of players injured.
So
they lost in Chicago. They lost in Chicago in a monsoon in the season opener. But you're right. It's been inconsistent, but they have enough players back right now, and they're refreshed after the bye, where they all talk about that they're going to go on the second half run. And that's locker room common stuff that you need to have that confidence. But the Niners have gone to the playoffs 2 of the last 3 years in 2 vastly different ways. In 2019, on the way to the Super Bowl, they started 8-0, and then they just coasted through there, right? Get the first seed, and you're in the bowl. Last year, they were 3-5 at the midway point. They were terrible. This year, they're 4-4, not much better. So they kind of can lean more on last year's adversity, going, we know that every game matters, and we have to have that urgency to win. Although the NFC stinks. I mean, it is wide open. They know that.
It's so crazy.
And like the NFC East will come back down to earth. The Seahawks, the Niners have beaten them once already. So I'm pretty sure that they feel that they can go into Seattle and win. It's not as daunting as when Russell was up there. And the Chargers are right in it too. It's like as bad as the Chargers have been wild and up and down and fumbling with a minute to go and somehow recovering that ball,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes the football gods look down on you, and maybe a quarterback in Buffalo will be out with an elbow injury, and then it's like, oh, okay, he's gone. And then if somebody upsets the Chiefs along the way, it's like, why not us? I mean, that's the
No,
NFL set up for parity for that.
and that's what I've been telling Charger fans, because like Charger fans are like, they were jumping off craziness a couple of weeks ago, and I'm like, all you have to do, if you're 5-5 when you go into 5-5 when you go into Arizona, and maybe you get Joey, Mike, and Keenan back, you can go on a run at the end of the season and get hot. Especially with those two guys back, if they're healthy and everything, you can make a run. Especially, I mean, in the AFC, it's going to be a little bit tough, but still, you can go on a run. You can try and maybe get that 7th seed or the 6th seed, and you can definitely go on a run. But obviously, I mean, Keenan's been out almost a whole year, and Mike just picked up that injury, but. I'm not going to make it too much longer for you, Cam. Thank you so much for this. Just I got a couple more questions.
Yeah.
And this is more off-season. Well, no, I'll ask you first. Who you got the 49ers in this game, correct?
I do. I think I took Niners 28-19, and I put it under 20 for the Chargers because they've won the last 5 meetings and scored over 20 in all 5.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, no, I think I said like 38 21.
Yeah, I don't think their offense is that crazy. So
okay, well, I thought they were a little nuts.
Well,
but
we'll see. I mean, it's like you got to shake them up after the bye, right? It's like either they're going to be gangbusters or they're going to be like, oh, these guys are sleepwalking through this. So
that's true. 2 more questions real quick. In the offseason, if a certain number 12 is free, from Tampa Bay, and he's a free agent, do you feel like the 49ers would consider, if they didn't win the Super Bowl, they were a game away from the Super Bowl, or they lost in the Super Bowl, do you think they consider maybe bringing him home?
Yeah. I mean, this is a storyline for me next month when Tom Brady comes home to the Bay Area. I absolutely, because I mean, like the way things are going in Tampa and the way his life is, I think he would love to like just come back. And when there was talk 2 years ago whether he might come to the Niners, it didn't make sense to me on a couple fronts. One being, he had his family, the kids, they were East Coast, and it was like it's such a hard. It would be hard too next year if he did that. And then the Niners had Jimmy Garoppolo just take him to the Super Bowl. Okay, he didn't do it by himself. Obviously, he was not the Peyton Manning of that team, but it's hard to get rid of a guy that won the NFC Championship and that everybody likes. If they didn't like him and said, "This guy, we had to cover his ass to get all the way there," it wasn't like that. It just they won differently than other teams do, and that's still the case. So the thing is, Jimmy controls his own destiny. He's not the Niners' mercy anymore because he has a no trade clause. He will be a free agent the way his contract was reworked before the season to come back and be the backup to Trey Lance. So if they make the Super Bowl, I see Jimmy coming back. I see them Niners extending him, saying, let's just keep this going. You and Trey get along. We'll see. It's like we won't have to rush him back. And like they saw a little bit of him, but they still don't know what Trey Lance can do. But it's not enough to assure you that, yes, he is absolutely going to be our stud for the next 10 years, right? Yeah. Nobody's saying that right now because nobody knows still. Do you keep Jimmy for another 10 years? The guy's 31 years old, so probably not, maybe a few more years. Or do you take the chance with Tom? And it's like, how are his skills? How would he fit in the Kyle Shanahan system? When I think that, oh, no, they wouldn't make that move. I didn't think that they were going to trade for Christian McCaffrey. This is an offense that's had a different leading rusher all 5 of Shanahan's previous seasons. They go through 5 running backs a year because they all get hurt. So why would you invest this much in a running back? Well, McCaffrey's a running back / receiver, but he's special. And I get it. And I understand, like, they gave up 4 draft picks, none of them a first rounder for him. And so you think about it, go, okay, well, it does make sense. So does Tom Brady make sense? You can make any sense of it getting the greatest player of all time to come to your team. So it's like, you can't lose with whichever argument you want to go with. You say, oh, he's too old, he stinks. Or you say, may as well throw him in there because there's so many good players around him where it's not all on him.
if he hoists the Lombardi Trophy, Joe Montana, Steve Young, Tom Brady would
Yeah.
be immortalized in San Francisco. That'd be incredible to
Well, I
see.
mean, but Joe and Steve have set that bar, and it's like every quarterback has had to answer that curse for the last 20 years, whether they can do what they did, and nobody has.
No, and it's been tough. Yeah.
And they're around. Everybody, it's a ghost, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, Kaepernick was on top for a couple of years there. He's a different breed of player that could run. Like, I mean, he had a 90-yard touchdown run against the Chargers when they last time they were here. Was it 2014?
Yeah.
And they blew a 21-0 lead and lost in overtime to the Chargers that game. So Cap had his flaws. Alex Smith had his. Jeff Garcia. They've had good quarterbacks. They've had some really bad quarterbacks. I think the Chargers should be lucky that they've had some really, really good quarterbacks over the years. I mean, you can go back long time, right?
Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers.
I go back further to Fouts and
No, but I mean, in the last 20 in the last almost 30 years, you've had 20 years, you've had Drew Brees, you've had Phillip Rivers, Tyrod Taylor for one game, and then
Herbert now.
Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Don't waste Justin Herbert. He's young. He's athletic. That's the message. But Cam, one more question. You were in San Diego. You had a California burrito. What was that like? What did you think about it?
First of all, why didn't you tell me that when you order it, you just say a Cali? Okay. When I say I'll have a California burrito, it's like a signal that I'm a Northern California
That's
invader.
my bad.
Okay.
I completely
so you say, give me Cali. Right?
Yeah, Cali. Yeah.
Okay. That place was really good. It's busy, right? So it's a lot of traffic flow. The secret's out on it. This is in Point Loma, right? What's it called? Loma
Ortiz's Taco Shop.
Yeah. Now there's another one it's in Point Loma. So I have a daughter that goes to Point Loma, right? She's a freshman. And so we've discovered this gem of an area. But there's another burrito place a couple blocks closer to campus called La Perla. And
wow.
I recommend that. Go in there and order a Cali.
Okay, a Cali.
Actually, you could even order a California burrito because I don't think they're so snooty. They're totally good with it. So.
But what did you? I mean, people don't realize it's like French fries. It's meat. It's cheese. I'm like, it's like the combination's a little weird, but it's like one of the best things you'll ever have.
Yeah, but you know what? Also, it's like the flavor of the carne asada it's authentic like that, and like because it's Southern California does Mexican food so much like better than like it's just the tortilla, the beans, everything is so much. The flavors are so much better in there, and then up here it's just kind of like they stuff it with some rabbit food and just like say, there you go, there's your healthy wrap. I was like, give me a Cali. Let's go.
And Cam is headed to Mexico City.
No, I'm not going to Mexico.
Oh, you won't be going to Mexico?
No. But I'll be going to I'm going to Colorado Springs next week for practice instead. No Mexico.
Oh, well, there you go.
Well, it's too bad because I think we really should go, but it's out of my control. I fought that fight. It's a Monday night game, which aren't easy to cover anyhow, especially on deadlines. So
the next time you're in San Diego, let me know. We'll go check out some news spots.
Yeah.
I'll get some news spots for you so you can check out a little bit more places. But I appreciate you so much, Cam. You brought the knowledge. You gave us everything we need to know to preview Chargers versus 49ers this weekend. Go follow Cam Inman at Cam Inman on Twitter. He also is he's one of the best on Instagram as well. Go check out his Instagram. It's great stuff. He has everything.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, Instagram's at 49ers.cam, so it's kind of easy too.
49ers.cam. Okay.
So yeah, hit me up with questions during the week if anything. And always good talking to you. Always appreciate it.
Thank you, Cam. Have a good one.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye.